Thanks everyone for joining. As you heard, we're recording just in case some other people who missed this want to take a look at it. Thanks for being here. I'm going to share my screen, show some slides, and we're going to be pretty informal today. So, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to jump in. It's no problem. Let me see. Let me put this up here and let me start a full screen, hopefully. Yeah. So we're from Work Package 9, Technology Transfer and Business Development. Obviously, we're trying to help all of you and all of us keep these innovations going beyond the lifetime of the Iliad project. That's what we want to do. And in this initial business model development workshop, we're trying to support you a little bit with having your first thoughts or more thoughts around your potential business model. We don't have to get caught up in the word business. It's also just an economic model. It doesn't have to be classic business. It doesn't have to be a for-profit model. It could be a non-profit model. So when you see something like this, don't think, hey, I'm a research institute, I'm not allowed to have a business. Well, it's about the economics of it. How do we keep these innovations going? How do we pay for the costs in the future after our funding period runs out? So my name's Raymond. I think I've met most of you. We've met somewhere together. Martijn's on the line as well, and Katja from DotSpace. They're supporting the work package as well, and so they'll be jumping in possibly at different points today. In the room, who do we have? I think we've got Clyde and Lancelot. You guys are from Ilvo, right? And just briefly, which pilot are you working on? Just maybe a couple of words on that.
Yeah, I'll take the word, Clyde. That's fine. We are working on the North Sea fisheries case, where we're focusing on gathering real-time data from 5 fishing vessels and giving it back to them in a business intelligence tool, while also enriching it with a fuel efficiency model and a catch prediction model.
Okay, good. Tanasi, what organization are you with, and which pilot are you working on?
So I'm from the University of Edinburgh, and we're focusing here on the tidal energy pilot. So basically the idea is we're working with industrial partners that are operating tidal energy devices at the moment. They're in the process of expanding their operations and adding new devices. They want to find out where the best location is going to be, and we want to basically are interested from the research side of things. How do we deal with this data, and how do we work on the modeling?
Okay, good, thanks. Magdalena, I think you're with Genilard, right? From which you're working on the insurance
for aquaculture. Yeah, that's right. Hi.
Okay. Hi. Thanks for joining us. Katerina, you here also. Which organization and which pilot are you working on?
I'm with the Foundations for Research and Technology in Greece, and we're working on the Cretan Sea oil spill and ship routing pilots.
2 pilots, okay.
Yes.
Oil spill and ship routing, okay. Good. So yeah, just so you know who else is on the call today, we're all working on different pilots, but hopefully some overlaps there, and everybody looking for a way to innovate. Today, we'll just look at a quick overview of the business model canvas. Those of you who are in Rome, it's going to be a little sort of what we did there, just reminding you what it's about, how it helps you to think about your economic model. And then we really want to go through each block of this with you together just quickly and get your first ideas down on paper. And we'll give you a template there to work with. And some of you have already worked on this a little bit, so maybe you can take the opportunity to improve on what you already have or see if additional ideas come to mind. And the goal is really to get one first draft completed today, and then we talk a little bit about next steps. So quick overview, we'll just talk about some highlights of the canvas. How do we complete such a canvas? What are some tips? give you a little simple example, and then we'll start going through it piece by piece. You've probably seen this before, or you've seen a version of this. This one has a couple of extra boxes on it. Normally, a business model canvas has 9 different blocks. It's all about how do we create value, deliver value, and capture value from an organizational perspective, and particularly from the customer's interest and value perspective. We've got a few extra things on here like policy objectives because we're an EU project. So what are we contributing to there? And of course, we're concerned about sustainability. And so we've got some additional blocks here about social environmental costs and benefits, which you sometimes don't see on a canvas like this, but obviously it does make sense in our case. If we start taking the canvas apart in pieces, we always start on the right side of the canvas, not on the left side. So we always start with the customer first, and then we try to identify our top key customer segments. And it may be only 1 or 2 or 3. We don't try to list hundreds that we could possibly maybe someday reach as customers, but who are really the customers or the users that we see who are we believe are going to use what we're producing. And we then describe value for each customer segment. This customer, we're producing what kind of benefits for them? What are the most important things? And we always do this very briefly and only putting our top priorities in each of these fields. So this kind of canvas is really about being prioritized and putting down key things, not about copying and pasting text from everywhere and filling up something with a lot of information. This is about getting a quick view and focusing on the top priorities in each part of the canvas. And so that when somebody looks at this or when you explain it to somebody, they can very quickly get an idea of what's most important for your model, for what you're working on. And we always talk about the customer's facing side or the front end side of the canvas next, building that around the customer view, describing things from the customer's perspective. So what kind of relationship is the customer expecting? Do they want a close relationship with us? Do we have a consulting relationship with them? Or is it more just a transactional? They can click on something and download an app from us, or what are they expecting as far as relationship with us? Channels is about how do we reach those customers? How do we reach them new when we're searching for new customers, or in the future when we're transacting with them? Or is it purely online, or is it face-to-face meetings, or is it workshops, or what kind of channels do we have to get in touch with them and to deliver our product or service or our value to them? I'll come back to each of these in a moment, but just giving you a quick overview of these. As I said, additional things from the EU policy objective side. Obviously, we're contributing to things because we are an EU project, and so we can note some of these things here, and then that helps us communicate with the Commission when we're reporting on things. Revenue streams, again, this does not have to be a business. This does not have to be a profit model. It can be a non-profit model. It can be revenue from selling a product or service, but it could also be funding from another source. It can be sponsorships. It can be other ways of gathering money to cover your costs, because obviously everything you're doing here has a cost behind it. There's people behind it. There's time behind it. There's technology behind it. So how does that get paid for? And here you want to be thinking about, okay, in the future, after this Iliad funding is finished, how could we earn revenue with this? Where would that funding come from? And that's what we need to talk about in a moment. On the left side, or the supply side, or the back end of the canvas, this is all about how you produce your value. What do you need to actually produce your product or your service or your innovation that you're working on? And again, it's about key things. It's about not all the details, not everything that's required to do a complex activity, but what are the key things that you need? And so around key activities, what are the most important activities that we need to do in order to deliver this value? And what resources do we need for that? We may need data, we may need sensors, we may need specific human resources. So what are the key resources that we have in order to deliver these, or to do these activities to deliver this value? Key partners, who else do we need? So when we talk about activities and resources, we're usually talking inside of our organization, but key partners outside of our organization, who else do we need to help deliver this value? Like data, for example. Do we get data from somebody else, bring it in, we process it, and then we push it on to our customers? Or sensors, for example, we just buy them from somebody else, then we put them into our system and offer that to our customers. So thinking about what partners do you need in order to deliver this value? And all of these things, of course, have a cost associated with them. So at first, we're just writing down cost elements or cost categories. Our human resources will cost us something. Does our data cost us something? Does our model cost us something? And later we'll be able to go back and calculate that in more detail, right? As you get further in your development, you may be able to say, okay, which exact cost is behind each of these categories of cost. But in the beginning, you're just writing down, what are the main things that I'm going to have to spend money on in order to deliver this value? So now also, we just wanted to give you a quick example, or a simple example to use as a thought process here. I think, Martijn, do you want to describe a little bit what's behind
Yeah,
these
sure.
examples? Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, Raymond, thanks for the introduction and the explanation of this business model canvas. To illustrate what Raymond said, I did the exercise as well for the Nespresso case. So we all know this brand, of course, and it has nothing to do with Iliad. So we cannot flee into any technical nitty-gritty for this. But I wanted to show you this because it's an interesting case. The idea of Nespresso was born in a lab. So it wasn't a company, it was part of a larger company. And eventually it was spun out. So the patent for roasting beans and also addressing all kinds of technical challenges was already there in 1976. So it took them quite some time to build a business on this. So we're only 1 year ahead. So I think we still have some time if funding is available. The interesting part of the case is that Nespresso built coffee machines, and they did this not by themselves, but they purchased this from partners, and they sold it to offices and households and the business professionals. So, but these were one-off sales. So there was no recurring revenue model, no recurring model. So this is something which you could focus on if you're filling out the canvas and delivering the service. Do I provide a one-off sale, or is it a recurring revenue model which I intend to grow? So what did they do? They not only focused on the hardware, let's put it this way, but they also invented the pod. So the good news of this pod was that it gave them some revenue streams, which came in gradually. And the pod is a nice invention because customers pay on average 6 or 7 times more for these kinds of grams of coffee than if you would buy it in a pack of 500 grams or 1 kilo. So it was good for revenue streams. And why did they do this? Because the value proposition was, we want to supply high level, high quality coffee and It's not only the coffee, but it's also the setting or setting the scene for this coffee, like the restaurant environment and so on. So that's what they wanted to do. So they created all kinds of, you see on the right top corner, the membership club. So they invited the customers to be part of this club. You get nice brochures, vouchers, and they hired also, of course, for marketing, they hired George Clooney, for example. So you really want to be there. So you should ask yourself for your business canvas, think about the customer's point of view. Why does the customer want to have your service? So it can be because of technical reasons, but also because he wants to be part of your team, which is also interesting if you look at it from a customer point of view. Of course, you need to have channels. So for the coffee, Nespresso created web shops, so branded boutiques and so on, and call centers. So think of new channels to sell your products through. And of course, the resources which you need, on the other hand, what kind of resource, but Rem already addressed this. So there are quite some similarities. We can look at cost and the revenues, of course. Revenues I addressed already. The cost for Nespresso, they had an increase in the marketing cost, for example, but it really paid off in terms of revenues because of the recurring sales. And we address quickly the environmental impacts and social impacts. So the positive and the negative side, the impact and the benefits. This can also be very relevant for your case, like what does it add value, but in a non-monetary way, and what does it cost me? So is it pollution, for example, which I address, or is it something for the social benefits, which really makes it worthwhile considering my service? So I want to leave it here. So this might be an inspiration for you to fill out your canvas in the coming 90 minutes or 60 minutes. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Martijn. Yeah, I think it's good sometimes when we look at examples outside of our own work at the moment, because yeah, you don't get caught up in all the technical discussions or whatever. But yeah, this is a good example where at first they were creating something in a lab or something and they didn't know exactly what to do with it, and they had to slowly develop these ideas. And that's this is one of the tools that can help you to do that. So then if we move forward, so like I said, we want to go through this block by block, and our goal is to help you have your at least a draft version today. We're going to create this together online, give a few minutes per block. So I'm going to go through each block again with you and describe a little bit in each one, give you some more guiding questions to help you, and we'll have some time to discuss or ask questions as needed. Katja, are you putting the link to this Canvas document in the chat now?
Yeah, already.
Okay, so it's there. So what we want you to do, this is the SharePoint that we all have on Iliad. So please go to this link, and there you're going to find a document with business model Canvas templates in it. And there's going to be one there for you, for your organization and your pilot. And so please go in there and find that now. Ilvo, for example, you've already got some information filled out. So that one is there, the part that you've already filled out. So go there and find that, and you'll be able to add to it or improve upon it today, maybe as we talk. Jenilard, Magdalena, I think there's one, yeah, the one from yesterday is in there as well. So you may also have a
I'm gonna take a look at it, yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe the others, Tanasi and Katarina, if you go in there and find your canvases to work on with us here. Let me move that out of the way. Give you just a minute to go find that. Okay, good. Katarina says she's got it. Tanasi, have you found yours?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, the others also, hope you found it. Any problems? Okay, well, let's just go. Like I said, we always start on the right side. We always start with the customer first. So on this side of the canvas, think about your customer segments. Who are you creating value for? Who do you see is going to use your innovation? And who are the most important customers? Don't try to list 50. Who are your top 3, for example? And it could even be only 1 or 2 if you think they're far more important. But put the most important ones here. And it's very important, be as specific as possible here, even to the point of putting the exact person, if you know one, or the exact job title of someone. Being as specific as you can here, because this is really going to help you in the future to reach out to customers and maybe discuss your prototype with them, right? To get feedback from them. So don't put the fishing industry here, because that's just too huge. That's thousands of different jobs and people. Who are you targeting? Is it the person standing on the beach with the fishing rod? Or is it the person who owns the fishing vessel? Or is it the person who has a factory processing food, fish for food? Or, you know, so be as specific as you can here. And if you already know some of your customers, it's really literally writing down some names here, because you're going to think about getting in touch with these people in the near future and saying, hey, I have a prototype here. Can you take a look at it? Can we discuss it? Give me feedback on it. Did we have something else in the chat here? Okay, going to the value proposition. So now what you want to do is put the value to the customer segment, right? What value do we deliver for which customers? It may be the same for multiple customers, or it could be slightly different between different groups of customers. Depends on what it is. But you're thinking about now value, not just the thing, I'm delivering software. No. What's the actual benefit you're delivering to them? What problems are you helping them to solve? Which of the jobs that they're doing are you helping them to do better? Are you helping them to do it faster or more efficiently or with higher quality? Are you creating specific gains for them, helping them to get more revenue or helping them to improve something? Or are you relieving some sort of pain for them, helping them to solve a problem that they've been having, helping them reduce effort, helping them reduce cost? So those are the kinds of things that you should be putting under value proposition. Is it more convenient? Is it easier? Is it faster? Is it better performance, better quality? These types of things. There's a few examples here, and trying to match those up. If your customer segments are slightly different, this could be slightly different, which value providing for which, or they could be quite similar, even if you've got different customer segments. Feel free to jump in if you have questions or anything, but please enter into your canvas now as we're talking. Write down your first thoughts and your first ideas. And this will be a basis that you can use later to discuss further. Okay, if we move on now to channels. So this is the space between how do we deliver this value to these customers? So what channels do we use? How do our customers want to be reached? Are we reaching them only online? Or are we meeting with them face to face? Are we delivering something to them in a consulting fashion where we sit down and we talk and we discuss? Or is it purely electronic and they just need to click a button to get something? So, you know, think about the channels that they want to have. How do they want to get your product or get your service? Is this better than how they're currently doing it? Is this a cost-efficient way of doing it? If I can help them do something online that they were previously doing on paper, or I can help them do something more automated through an automated channel than through another channel. So think about how you reach the customers. And this can also be a little bit about your marketing, right? How are you going to market to them? Is this going to be a kind of thing where you can do online marketing to a mass audience? Or is this going to be something where you have to do personal meetings in order to explain your product? Because it may be complex. It's not just something they just grab an app off online. It may be something we need to meet and discuss. So the channels of how you get in touch with your customers. And that's then, of course, related to customer relationships. What kind of relationship does each of your customer segments expect? Do they want to have a very close and personal relationship? I need to talk to you. I need to ask you questions. I need to develop or co-develop with you a solution. Or is it, hey, just give me an app, give me something, I just download it, I run with it myself, I don't need to talk to you, I don't have time to talk to you. You know, what kind of relationship? How do you establish these relationships and maintain them? Also here, you can be thinking about costs in the future. If I have to go meet with everybody personally and talk to them, of course, that's going to have a higher cost. Or do I do something where it's more of an online contact, or maybe I just send them something to explain my product? Or do I really have to meet with them to explain it? So think about what types of relationships your customers want. And again, from their perspective, what do they want from you? What do they expect from you? How are they doing it today? And can you do it better? Moving on now to revenue streams. So for what value are your customers really willing to pay for? So you need to be thinking, okay, I'm creating something maybe new and innovative and special. Are they willing to pay for it? Or are they willing to pay for at least part of it? What are they currently paying for? How are they currently paying for it? Is it only certain parts of this that they may be willing to pay for? They may expect certain things for free, and then they might be willing to pay for something premium on top of that. Or what is it that they're really willing to pay for, the value that they see that's worth paying for? And right now, this is just your ideas and your categories and things. And later in interaction with customers, you'll be able to talk more to them about, okay, how much would you be willing to pay for this? Or when we look into what services are currently out there, how much are they paying for those services? What would they be willing to pay for yours? But that can come later, right? So for right now, it's just getting your ideas down. I think they would be willing to pay a monthly service for this and this and this. Or is it a one-off purchase? I think they're going to want to just download this model, or they're going to want to use this app. So it's a purchase type. So writing your ideas on that here. Did somebody have a question? I heard something in the background. Okay, moving down then to social and environmental benefits. Thinking about this, if we're delivering this value to these customers, then what are the positive impacts that we're having on people and planet? Obviously, this is interesting for the European Commission. This is interesting because we're a Horizon project, but it can also be very interesting for your customers as well, if you're helping them to do something in a better and more sustainable way. Is our new solution more positive than current solutions? Are we able to do something with a better environmental footprint than it was previously done? Are we able to help them save on their environmental impacts? So is your solution helping them decrease fuel usage? Is yours helping them do something more efficiently? Is yours helping them have other environmental or social benefits? And that's then also connected to policy objectives. Obviously, as an EU project, we are contributing to EU strategies and policies. If you know some of them, put them down here, especially specific ones that you know your solution is helping to address. This helps us very much in communicating with the Commission. This helps us in some of our marketing materials and some of our communication materials, which policymakers are really interested in what we're doing here. And of course, it can be different in the energy sector, those pilots that are dealing with energy versus those dealing with fishing or whatever. So you may be addressing different policy areas. So if you can think of a few, jot them down there. This is also something we can get support from others in the consortium on. Some of our policy experts, they know which policies we're really contributing to. Digital transition, green transition, more sustainability, sustainable fishing, more sustainable energy. So, you know, there's a lot there that we're hopefully contributing to. Okay, no questions? Everybody working on theirs? We'll keep moving forward then. We're now moving to the back end, moving over to the activities side. What are the key tasks that you need to perform in order to deliver this value? What do you do every day to create these products and services? What's going to have to be done? And again, thinking beyond Iliad, beyond the project, once we've developed this thing and it's now a product or a service, what do I have to do to deliver it every day? Is it something that I need people for? Is it something that I need a lot of work for? So that's going to connect also to key resources. What people, what things, what know-how are required to deliver this value? So I've got activities and I've got resources. I've got physical resources, intellectual resources, human resources. What are the key activities and the key resources I need to actually deliver this, right? So I may need a couple of people, I need some data, I may need sensors, I may need specific models, and all of these things are part of my resources that I'm then packaging together as a product or service for my customer. So writing some of these things down, and it's important to just have some categories here again, because these are going to all have a cost associated with them. Do you need 10 people to do something, or do you need one? Do you get all of your data for free, or do you have to buy your data from different sources? All of these things are going to have a cost associated with them. So at some point, we're going to need to figure out, what does it cost us to deliver this? And who else do we need? So here we're thinking about outside of our own organization, who helps us deliver this value? Which outside partners do we need to conduct these activities? Or do we need special resources from partners outside of our own organization? Which partners are helping us do this? Do we have a partner that we get our sensors from? Do we have a partner that we get special models from? We have partners that we get data from? And they're maybe they're outside of our organization, but we need something from them in order to deliver our value to the customer. And all of those things are going to cause us to cost us something, right? So again, we're talking main cost categories here to deliver your activities. Which resources do you have to pay for? Do you have to pay for maintaining some of these key partnerships? What do you have to pay for your customer relationship? Again, like we said, do you have a face-to-face relationship or a more online relationship? Again, here we're talking first about just putting down some categories. What are the main things that you think you're going to have to spend money on? And later we can come back to this and look at it more closely and start even calculating amounts behind it. But you're looking at things like fixed costs and variable costs. What sort of equipment do we have? What sort of fixed salaries do we have versus maybe variable costs? If we do more and more and more of this, we'll have to spend more, or if we do a smaller amount, we'll spend less. So these types of things, categories are falling under cost structures. And then social and environmental costs, again, now we're talking about the costs versus the benefits. What are the key negative impacts that you may still be having on people and planet, right? How's our new solution still causing maybe some negative impacts? Nothing is perfect. We hope that our new solution is better than the old one, but there will still be some costs to it. There may still be negative impacts. So let's be honest about that and let's put it down here. And then also at some point we can be comparing a little bit. Okay, if I put all these new electronic sensors out there in the world, that might have a little negative impact on the environment. But if it's allowing me to provide these other benefits, then we may be saying, okay, the cost benefit there is worth doing it. We've actually improved environmental sustainability, even though, of course, we still have some impact on it, right? So that's a quick run through of all of the blocks. And there you see all of these guiding questions together. I'll give you a couple of more minutes to work on your canvas a little bit more. And then maybe I'll ask each of you to give us a little overview of your canvas. And of course, any questions you have at this point, something not clear to you.
Could you provide an overview again of the channels? Sorry. Oh, yeah, I can see it now. Sorry, I was just distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Channels, yeah, it's about how do you deliver your value? How do you get in touch with your customers?
How is this different from customer relationships?
Yeah, with a classic product type of thing where you're actually delivering physical hardware, you can think of the channels as really how do we physically deliver it, right? We put it on a truck and we drive it to their house.
Right.
You know, we might have to ship something there. So there's these kinds of channels. Whereas with the customer relationship, it's more about how do we talk to them? How much are we involved with them? Do we just send them a product and we never talk to them? Or are we meeting with them on the phone? Are we meeting with them face to face? Do we have more of a consulting relationship? Or do we have more of just a transactional relationship?
Right. But
Yeah.
this is for the customer relationships.
Right. And the channels is more this physically, how do we contact them? How do we deliver our product? Is it a physical thing that we have to ship to them? Is it a purely an online transaction, a channel? Also thinking about marketing, how are we going to reach them? Are we going to be able to put a mass marketing online and just say, hey, buy our beautiful product? Or even in the channels, are we going to need to contact new customers in a more personal way? So there's definitely a connection between relationships and channels, but the channels is more sort of the physical delivery of product and service, and the relationship is more how close is the relationship, how much contact do we need, how much interaction.
Okay, so I see, for example, if it was basically model data specific, the channel will be just an online portal through a data feed or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I
Yeah.
got it.
Some other questions? Okay, well, let me step out of that presentation mode. would somebody like to show us their canvas and tell us a little bit about what they've come up with so far? Let me see if I can. Here's our online canvas. And I see what page are you on?
I'm on page 20.
20, okay. Would you like to explain to us a little bit what you've come up with so far?
Yeah, I can try to do this.
Oh, you're not very far. I can see. Oh, no, there it is. Okay.
There.
I was going to say, wait a minute. This
Yeah.
is- okay.
I mean, this is quite timely because this week I've been involved in putting together 3 research proposals on this related topic, and basically had a lot of engagement with industry. So in terms of customer segments, that was quite fresh. I mean, there is array operators. I mean, the application area is tidal energy, digital twins. The problem is the resource is predictable, but when you look into it quite closely, there's a lot of variability, there's a lot of uncertainty in there. So what we're presenting here is basically to have, if we have devices that are operating there, we can use this data to basically fact check a model and establish relationships through that. And basically then this gives us the opportunity to keep track what the array is meant to produce. So for example, because the resource is predictable, you can predict how much energy you can produce. You can keep track how individual devices will perform. You can see what the impact of the devices is going to be. So basically, based on this, in terms of the customer relationships, we have the device developers who develop the turbines. They want to see how their turbine will perform in a particular location. You have the array operators, which are interesting. How much money are they going to get from their operation, and how do we extend their kind of array designs? And actually, this is quite timely because the UK government has released more funds for subsidies in that area, and they need to prove this. And this aligns with Horizon Europe calls for research to demonstrate those arrays. So it's quite timely. Then there's the regulatory bodies, because I was in touch with the Crown Estate Scotland the other day, and they were telling me how they want to be in a position to lease new sites to array developers. And basically they want to do this in certain segments of capacities. The question is, how do you basically tailor a site with a particular capacity so you know exactly how to do that? And then there's the other side of it, there's the engineering side of it, where you have modeling consultancies, which are not, I mean, I'm come from a research institution and I'm doing this from a research perspective, but the modeling consultancy would like to take on this expertise in order to support their methods. I mean, what we're doing here is quite specific and research focused, and commercial tools don't have the capabilities that the digital twin will have. So they can basically use this alongside their modeling in order to see what they can do. So there's a few opportunities there. In terms of customers. So in terms of customer relationships, there is a two-way street. I mean, you can imagine this digital twin working on its own as an operational model without any data as a scoping study, but then you can have later levels where there is a device there, and basically then the customer relation will detail providing a data feed as well for knowledge exchange, and basically data exchange, mainly, not knowledge exchange. Let me correct that. But also a lot of this basically requires them to provide a lot of specifications about their site, and it requires a lot of kind of information about which kind of questions they're interested in, because each site is different. So there's going to be some form of close communication, which will not be kind of necessarily just within an online context, because we need to know specific questions so that we can know what outputs we want from the digital twin.
Is this going to be more only at the beginning and then later it could run sort of automatedly, or is this something you're going to have to be in contact always?
It's, I mean, initially for a baseline operation, imagine, so I want to know what is the energy on site. That's very straightforward. But over time, there might be more questions. Okay, I don't know why this turbine is not performing as well as it is. Can you refine this model in that area, and so forth? And then basically it will be a case of just having this back and forth, or basically it could be. In some cases, it's rare that you often have in those cases a single device. So they might install a different device. There might be a different constraint there. So that will basically need to be exchanged. But in principle, if you have a single device operating there, you can basically have a baseline operational version with minimal communication to begin with, where you provide a service. And then the question is, you can have, in terms of revenue streams, you can basically check, okay, what do you want? Do you want basically operational data for just 1 month? Do you want historical data for what happened before? What kind of volumes of data do you want? Do you want data across the entire kind of site? So basically you can factor in a few different levels of revenue streams where you can basically think that, you know, modeling this kind of stuff in multi-scale models can be quite expensive, even though as a researcher, we do this quite freely. So this is what I thought in terms of customer relationships. The thing is that the customer relations will also vary in terms of the customer segments as well. So for example, if you take the Crown Estate and regulatory bodies and environmental organizations will be interested about the impact. So they were looking at a different scale, but the methodology is the same. You're just looking at different outputs, but of the same model. And then if you're looking at device manufacturers, they might be interested at specific points. If you're thinking about array operators, they might be thinking about the uncertainty at different locations. So they're very similar questions, but quite different at the same time in terms of what kind of outputs you produce. So it's quite versatile. So this is how I kind of put it in the value propositions. So you could do resource assessment. I mean, there's a developer that wants to develop a site and they want to get an idea of what happens in that area. There's environmental impact assessment. I have 2 or 3 turbines there. What happens if I add another 10? I can, or the other question is, how do each of those turbines perform? What does your model think? What does my data say? And basically we can even if the model is not exactly accurate, you can still get an idea of the risk reduction. And then design questions with what if scenarios. What we've been working on here is basically how do you expand your arrays? How do you do this, acknowledging the complexity? So in order to this brings us to key resources. Basically, you need a modeler with experience to do this kind of work. And actually, this is not necessarily something that is very simple. I mean, the experience that we have on this has been developed over 10 years, and it takes time even for a new PD array. For Iliad started, and it takes a long time in order to bring them up to speed with all of this. When there's physical infrastructure, there are data servers that need to be maintained. We need to make sure that the formatting is the same. Different developers may not have the same expertise to process certain types of data, so that would add additional resources in order to address this. So you probably need some kind of data scientist or data management expert. Then, of course, in some cases, depending on the questions, you might need to deploy additional sensors. We can do this without any sensors, but for as a digital twin, we need sensors. So so the developers will need to outfit sensors in their devices and basically establish a link to do this. The problem here is that sometimes those sites are quite hostile environments. You have really, really strong currents. So usually we need the customer here to come here. Okay, here's the solution to this, but otherwise there'll be an uncertainty with it. We can still run, but there's more uncertainty. So this is basically why I've listed as key partners the array developers that provide access to turbines and this kind of data links, the sensor developers. In some cases, you have what is quite interesting, you have sensor developers who want to engage in order to demonstrate their technology in terms of performing in those environments, and this is what's happening in some of the research here. There's also Copernicus, which I imagine is free for research, but it's probably not going to be free for commercial purposes. Then this kind of brings me to the cost structure, very general. Sorry, I wasn't very specific. So maintenance costs for maintaining the data feeds. Since those environments are quite hostile, turbines need to be changed, data feeds will be disrupted. That affects a lot of the information. You want to basically keep track of historical data, so the data keeps accumulating and you need to manage that. You need to basically have the right stuff. I mean, hydrodynamic modeler in this case, any licensing for background data, bathymetry, forcings, things like that. It might not be kind of so straightforward to procure. Either they are a developer will need to bring this, or we need to find a different solution and basically say, okay, what is the benefit, the cost benefit for this? Social and environmental costs, I haven't gone that far yet, but for environmental benefits, the business model is based on predictable, reliable, sustainable energy. So basically meets a lot of sustainable development goals, and provides avenue to assess environmental impact. So there's a lot going for this, but you know, I haven't gone into the key activities, but I'm guessing that I've kind of merged a lot of this here with that.
Yeah, but that's good. That's a good overview. And yeah, you've really thought about different categories in different places. And you notice that there's going to be maybe a little different offer to the different customer segments. That's often happening. And then I think it's a good first draft here. And then you've got a basis to think on in the future. Yeah, exactly. Clarifying our offer to whom and to what's that really going to cost to keep that running. Anybody have any questions here for Thanasi?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do I understand correctly that this is already some kind of an operational service or consultancy service?
Sorry?
Is this already some kind of an operational service? Or is it...
At the moment, what we do have the modeling. We do have the capability to run it for any point, and we're working on getting this operationally working. We do have links with a lot of the customer segments that are listed there. So Magen, for example, we have a collaboration where they're willing to provide us data from their site. They've already provided bathymetry data and so forth for a demonstration. We have used this kind of modeling for consultancy in the past, not in an operational form. But yeah, this is an overview without me waffling.
Okay, so I understand that your customers or targeted customers are involved to some kind of co-develop the solution or the models and tie it really to their needs.
Yeah.
And that's how you hope to enter into some kind of a service agreement for the longer run.
Yes. I mean, indicatively, obviously, doing the business model from my point of view is a little bit odd coming from a university perspective. But for example, because you mentioned the word code design, we basically just to indicate the kind of the activity in this area, we just got awarded a major project on this through the UK Research Fund and Innovation Council in the order of 10 million, which is basically between Edinburgh, Oxford, and Strathclyde, which is called CoTide, which is on the co-design of devices for this. And about 1.5 million is dedicated to this modeling activity that I'm describing here. And over here, we have something like 20 different partner organizations, which basically compose the customer segments listed, some of those here.
Okay, wow. All right.
Thanks.
Good. Okay, who else wants to tell us a little bit about their business model? Maybe Clyde or Lancelot?
Yes, fine. For our business model, actually, we already had the help from Martijn that gave us some input. So thank you for that. And we're building a bit on that. So I'll just quickly go from left to right to bottom. Our key partners. Sorry.
Can you start on the right? I mean,
On the right, yeah, fine.
Your value and your customer, at least, so everybody gets a quick understanding. Who's the customer and what are you providing them?
Yes, so our core customer is the Belgian fishery sector, specifically the vessel owners and the skippers. We're working to offer them a business intelligence tool that provides them real-time processed insights in their fuel consumption, in their catch composition, and the estimated revenue based on that. It's a business intelligence tool for fishing vessels that's completely hands-off towards them. And then within Iliad, we also want to build on that by making it a true digital twin, by adding fuel efficiency models and catch prediction models. So I think the summary is giving business insights with a predictive value. The next you wanted me to discuss is?
Well, yeah, I think that's your key customer segments and your value. And yeah, I mean, still on this side, how are you reaching them in your channels, and what kind of relationship is this?
Well, currently it's we offer business intelligence tool completely online. So it's purely online, but we do offer in-person trainings and feedback loops so that they can help improve the product to make sure that it is following their wishes. Outside of that, there are a lot of other customer segments that are interested, but we focus first on keeping the fishermen happy and then see what can happen with their data later on. The first step for there is then in the channel, you can also see that there are interaction with auctions. So the data can also flow towards auctions themselves in the same channel, actually. So maybe I don't know if that's correct there, that should be in channels, but yeah.
Okay. And so at first you need a personal relationship with them, so under relationships, but then once it's set up, they're able to sort of operate and use it autonomously, or?
Yeah, it's fully independent. They don't need us. They contact us when there are issues that we then resolve for them. But it's a completely online website that they just log in and have access to their data. There's also an interface that if they are, for instance, not happy with the auction price that we use for our projections or for the fish prices or fuel prices, that they can change it themselves. So, but we do offer trainings for that.
Okay. What is that with an auction? What are you auctioning? The information or the?
No, fish needs to be sold through a fishing auction. That's by law.
Yeah.
But the link that we also have with the auction is that the auction is also interested in this data, so they can give a forecast on what the buyers on the auction can expect the coming week.
Okay. So the data coming in is real time, and then they're able to say, we expect this and this amount of fish, possibly at this time.
By Friday.
By Friday, we'll have this and this. Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's something that's a new customer. It's not
Uh-huh.
fully developed yet, but
Mhm.
we're planning to do it. But for the vessel owners, we already have the platform run.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
like the 2 customers we have now.
And you're already earning revenue with this, or?
No, these are like potential revenue because as a
Mhm.
government institute, we can actually not ask any payments from customers. So it's fully funded by EU and Belgian funding right now for the development. It will also be like that for the coming 2 years. But this revenue stream is actually from the entire canvas the most difficult for us because the one we can do and we do is the consultancy part.
Yeah.
But outside of that, there's also for the vessel owners, anonymized data can be sold, but the revenue would then go to them. But maybe there are some licensing fees somewhere that we can ask to just be break even to maintain the system. But that's kind of the biggest unclarity for us as a government institute. Like, how can we ask revenue if our mandate is actually to not be disruptive in an economic sense?
Yeah, I think that really depends on how strict your government regulations are. But I do know there are some models where it's just cost coverage, and it's not like, you're selling a product for or a service for profit, but it's to cover the cost. And then this allows you to potentially expand on something rather than it being limited by Department X budget or, something like that. So yeah, that's definitely worth looking into in the future, how that can be done.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's a tentative. It's more like the options we can explore, but I need to check with the legal department on what our statute actually is on that.
Yeah, okay. And so then on this side with key activities and key resources, what's most important for you to be able to deliver this?
Well, there's a very big list of key resources I've added. I don't know if it's too much, but we do need a lot of experts. That's the most important aspect because fishery is a very specialized sector with a lot of knowledge. And this thing has only been possible because we have a lot of enthusiastic people that contribute their part in the system. Again, that's because of our position. We're not a private company. We're a government institute. We have to collaborate, and we like to collaborate with a lot of people. But that means we're also dependent on a lot of people, which can sometimes, I think, be a weakness, I think. Because if one of the chains kind of blocks out, then it has to be replaced. And it's not necessary that we can just hire someone to do it. Not that the private company can also do that. But
and it could be difficult if you've got so many experts and different pieces involved, also to think about what would it really cost if we, just calculated the cost of this. It's hard to separate out because, of course, each employee is doing multiple things, and this is only one of those things. But how much does it cost to actually just do this service?
Well, we can. It's easy to calculate what the maintenance is of the system and what the direct costs are towards licensing fees, server costs, operational costs, BI tool. But if you had to calculate these experts into real money, it's a lot of investment, I think.
Yeah, okay.
And but then outside of that, I think data and data infrastructure to run everything is important. Development capacity, parts, hardware parts are getting hard to come by. The algorithms and models we have, and also are important resources.
Yeah, and we're also obviously for Iliad, we're thinking about this as a potential example for others, right? So at the moment, you're doing it in your existing environment. You're a government agency, and you have a government budget, et cetera, et cetera. But is it a potential model that somebody else could do somewhere else, and they might do it under a for-profit organization or a nonprofit organization or whatever? And being able within the project to describe that in a way that somebody else can see, yes, what would I actually need to be able to deliver this when I'm not a Belgian government agency, So I think that's that will be interesting in the project to see also how many other fishing industry or fishing vessel organizations would be interested in having this, and how
Well, yeah, well,
challenging it can
we
be.
actually have already 2 other fishing sectors that are interested
Mhm.
in taking up this system or a similar system. But I think the way I maybe wrongfully tried to fill it in, because I think it was also fairly limited, is that we filled in the resources that we need to get to where we are now, not
Mhm.
necessarily to run this thing as a buyer oriented system, because you don't need
Yeah.
those experts anymore once it's
Mhm.
operational. We just
Yeah.
need some infrastructure and run the same system in parallel.
Yeah, I think that's good that you're describing the real situation right now as you see it, and then yeah, it could be that later you say, okay, we've gotten past that stage, and you might have another version where you say, okay, what would it be need to just keep this going? And I
Yeah,
wouldn't
exactly.
need some of that early development or those early experts or something.
Yes.
Mhm. And key partners, do you really do you need all of these partners to really deliver what you're delivering, or are they are they really all key is what I'm asking.
For the North Sea fisheries case, they are key.
Mhm.
For the product that we will deliver, they are not. But that's again the story of getting to where we are now, or will be in a few years, or offering the product to someone else. That aspect, no, they wouldn't need those people.
Yeah, okay. So when you first started up, you really had to have all of these players to get it going, and you need all these different stakeholders to be involved. But maybe once it's up and running, you would have a smaller set of
The
partners.
reason why we need those partners now is because this fishery case really has to do with first creating value for vessel owners so they see the value in their own data. Then at a later stage, this data could be used also for government, for all these key partners that are there. But we already put them together on the table from the beginning so that the vessel owners have a sense of ownership on where the development of this entire tool is heading. So it's more like creating what you call it, this kind of, it's not level playing field, but this discussion group where everyone has a kind of say in how this will further develop. This is again because we are a governmental institute, not a private.
Yeah. Okay, and you have listed some things under cost versus benefit. On the benefit side, yeah, I understood you were talking about reducing fuel consumption, carbon footprint, etc., and limit bottom trawling damage. How do you limit that?
Well, if you know exactly where a vessel is fishing and you know how sensitive that area is, you can tell them to avoid those areas.
Okay.
Because up until now, we don't really know that.
But on the cost side, you do still have some environmental costs. So what are these?
Well, fishing does remain pollution. And if they know, even if you reduce the fuel efficiency or increase the fuel efficiency, sorry, and you communicate to vessel owners where the most rich fishing grounds is, you still have a risk of overfishing that good fishing ground. And that's something that is we still need a solution for that. Usually that's management. There is management in place. But pushing people away from sensitive areas is focusing energy or effort in a different area, which can be bad. So that's why here was added very efficient fishing on the local region might enable further biodiversity loss and local depletion of stocks.
Okay. Yeah, that's a challenge in any case, right? If they're able to do it more efficiently and more effectively, well, that could cause more damage. But yeah, if it's well managed, it might not. It might be able to be managed more sustainably. But challenge. Okay, good. Anyone have questions for Lancelot?
I was thinking, because we did this exercise in Rome, and what happens if you don't make it a commercial product, like it's a service offering from the government? How
That's
would
probably
this,
where we're heading.
so like, can it be made compulsory to the sector, or is it some kind of a standard, for example, maybe national, but potentially European? I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
could
Is
be.
it?
That's one of the things that we are actually going to discuss soon with all those key partners that are there. So
Yeah,
we're
okay.
first evolving now. There's a project proposal that we're actually waiting on to scale up the system to the entire fleet voluntarily, but part of the thing will be funded if they jump on it now. But of course, it's a slow evolution to probably make it mandatory in time in Belgium. Because we didn't talk about the policy objectives, but I don't know if you're informed on what is happening in the European fishery, but a lot is happening. A lot will be obligatory, something called fully documented fisheries, so that cameras and sensors will have to be on board 24/7. So it's actually preparing ourselves also for some policy objectives. But it's soft nudging in that direction instead of waiting for EU to hammer down on it.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, right now you've had success with just really working with the fishers on a personal basis, and they're volunteering to do this, and they're seeing advantages for them. So you're not forcing anything yet, but the idea is there that it could be somehow at some point a requirement, I guess.
Yeah, and then it's the choice of perception. If you start now by making this data gathering a positive thing for the fleet, and later it will maybe be obligation, it's a completely different perspective than waiting till it's an obligation.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
somewhere along the way find a benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
The story is set different.
Yeah, and I think the story to give to others as well. If Belgium is the example, and then not going to another country and saying force this and require it and make it a law, but look at the benefits, look at the advantages, look how much success we've had in getting volunteers to do it, and they seeing the value for themselves. Yeah,
Exactly.
totally different story. Good, thank you. Who else did we have? Did we lose Katarina? I think we had Katarina. We still have Magdalena. Where are you? Are you here? Do you want to give us a quick view of your model
Well, I
here?
can do, but I'll keep it really short because most of it was filled in by my boss yesterday, and I only added or altered some things.
Yeah.
So we
We
want to
can now
set up.
ask the difficult questions.
Okay, I'll see if I can answer. So we're trying to set up a data platform for risk assessment and monitoring regarding the aquaculture in Norway to start off, but afterwards you could probably use it anywhere. We're first focusing on harmful algae bloom. That's kind of the first risk we're looking at, but as I said later on, maybe we'll add some more risks, and we want to promote the solution to the private sector, say aquaculture operators. There I want to talk to risk managers, financial department who's involved in insurance. Also insurance themselves, reinsurers, but also public authorities. That's the plan.
Okay. And yeah, I see you've added some things here. Online platform, plug and play, as well as a consulting service. So parts of it could be used basically autonomously by them.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They can just check their risk at the moment. There will be forecasts, I guess. But if they have questions, if they want to have advice on insurance or reinsurance, we have partners in this area too. So we can use our expertise to help them. If they need help, yeah.
Yeah. And when you say risk
Would be-
assessment, are we thinking about the risk of events happening, like an algal bloom?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we're looking at historic data, at current data. We want to do forecasting to to kind of get a gist of the risk at hand.
I heard somebody in the background. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, will it be some kind of a cafeteria model, like the customer, like AXA can, I don't know, maybe have a few, or can pick what he wants from this platform or from this software suite which is developed?
Well, I guess you could make some adaptations if needed. We'll have to look into it if the data is available, if we can offer this function. But yeah, of course, I think there will be individual adaptations. Like, for example, they can integrate their insured clients, I guess, to monitor them directly. Something like that, yeah.
When we think about activities and resources, how difficult is it to gather all of this data? I mean, are you gathering much from many public sources, or are you having to install lots of special equipment in order to get the information you need, or how difficult is that?
So right now we're looking at public sources like open source. This is kind of difficult because there are several sources that we want to use. We have to harmonize it. But further on, I guess, maybe we'll also use commercial data, but we do not plan on setting up a monitoring system ourselves. Like, we don't need sensors. Maybe the aquaculture operators, they could actually provide some information because they are doing their own monitoring in situ. So that could be an option if they are willing to share this data.
Okay, so you could be taking all the public data that you can find, and then maybe, especially for your customers, getting what they have and putting that together, and maybe even you get agreements on anonymized data that that they would be willing to somehow share. Okay, and you are already, well, how far along is this?
We're not operational yet. We're still in the setup of the whole platform, gathering information. Yeah.
But you're working directly with AXA and some other potential customers on the design, right?
We are talking to AXA. We're talking about the requirements, about what they do already, what they would like to have. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Good. Other questions?
Maybe it's too specific, but how is you're collecting and producing data from individual clients? And how would you transfer this to some more kind of a generic offering? So like you're building the system based on the AXA portfolio, for example?
Oh no, this would be not tailored for them. So it's supposed to be used by the aquaculture industry, insurance, and public authorities as well. So you would just have an overview. You could zoom to your location that you're interested in, for example, because there's your aquaculture site. So it would be kind of open use, yeah.
Okay.
Good. Anyone else? Any questions? Well, if not, we're pretty quick and efficient today. That's good. With just a few people here. Yeah, again, thank you for coming. Thank you for working on this. I hope it's been at least a little bit helpful for you. Obviously, this is a first draft or a draft for you, and this is something that you continue to work with in the future. Discuss this with your pilot team or with others that you think can help you get another perspective. They may see some areas for improvement or think of something that you haven't thought of, so you can update your canvas. And then really the purpose of something like this is to interact with others and discuss this with them, especially with your customers. So really to the point of, is this the value that you as a customer really want? So it's that point of really talking to them. And when you've got a prototype that you're showing it to your customers and saying, do you like it? Is this what you want? Is this what you're willing to pay for? Oh, you get this stuff for free, you're not willing to pay for it. But this part of it, this is extra value for you, so you're interested in paying for it. So maybe we should focus more on this. And of course, using that to iterate based on that feedback. So please continue to use that. Ask us for support if you need it. We're here to help you from the work package. And especially as we move into prototypes and we start moving towards customer interaction, we're extremely interested in what's the customer saying here. Is there a future economic model behind this? Because we're looking towards the end of Iliad funding and saying, how does this thing live on? And if several of you, maybe not every pilot, of course, but several of the pilots are able to have a functioning economic model behind it, then this can be a benefit for the whole Iliad marketplace, and keep it alive and running. If nobody has that, then of course we're going to have an issue, and we end up creating something during Iliad that doesn't live on, and we definitely want it to live on. So thank you very much from our side. Any final questions or anything from anyone?
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, we'll give you back a bit of your time today. Thank you so much for coming, and yeah, we'll be in touch in the